focused more on critical thinking and problem solving with the examples. Now we'll continue with the self-awareness and emotional management or this one that will continue. So starting with the first one itself is our emotions. Okay. So emotions usually we say we stirred up the state of the body. Otherwise there are what you call once a person is under emotions, a lot of changes would happen, whether it's in a positive emotion or a negative emotion. But controlling them is what you call very important in our day-to-day life, whether it's in your work office, workplace, or at home, or in your inside the classroom. You have to manage your emotions very effectively. But they are conscious mental reactions. Okay, they are psychological reactions, and subjectively is what you call experienced. And sometimes what happens? Sometimes our emotions cannot be seen. They are called as what you call secondary emotions. We are not going to talk much about that. For example, jealousy, love, some feelings and all which is there, but which are not shown what you call outward. Whereas anger, fear, crying and all can be seen easily. So they are the conscious mental reactions which a teacher has to take care of while delivering his speech or lecture. That's also more important. Then, along with the emotional control, we talk about a concept called as emotional intelligence. So, of late, in all the sectors, emotional intelligence is given a prime what you call slot. Why? Because even if in any job sectors, emotional intelligence is taken because the idea here is in the emotional intelligence, where if I can understand my own emotions first and then I understand the emotion of the other person, then I accordingly I'll react or act to an emotion. So that's emotional intelligence. First, we should understand our own emotions. Then we should try to understand the other person's emotions. Then based on these two interactions, you should act. So this is called as emotion. Try to understand the emotions. And it said that okay, research also said emotion intelligence never stops growing because as we are always evolving as people, now emotional quotient or emotional intelligence is something that must be nurtured and something should be continued forever. So emotional intelligence is taking a prime part in what you call the life skills also. So what are the elements of EI? One if I one go through. So according to Daniel Goleman, who is a what you call pioneer in emotional intelligence, he talks about at least 5 things. One is self-awareness, how much we are aware of ourselves. We are going to talk about that. Then self-regulation, how much we control ourselves. Then our motivation part, how much our inner drive, what you call action, inner drives leads to action. Then empathy, there are three types of pathis, empathy, sympathy, and apathy. So how much empathy that putting oneself into other shoes, okay, and try to understand from the emotions of other person, feel the emotions, that's empathy. Then social skills is a part of it, understanding the nature. So all these are given by Daniel Goleman. Let's look into one by one. Before getting to that, what is the importance of this what you call emotional intelligence? Now it is said that if you want to have a good performance in our workplace, emotional intelligence is more important. Not only in the corporate sector, even in our what you call education sector or academic sector, emotional intelligence plays a major role. The moment we understand the student, what he expects and how he expects our class, and understand our own capacity and our emotions, then accordingly we deal our class. I think you are a successful man or successful teacher. So that's why it's said that it's the strongest predictor of workplace performance. And research has already said that among the top performers in most of the fields, 90% of them have got high emotional intelligence. Not just hard work, the emotional intelligence also what you call makes a big success. I think the best what you call example I want to give here is the late Ratan Tata. And how many of you agree with me? I think he had very high levels of emotional intelligence. He never wanted to become the richest man of India or richest man of in Asia or something like that. But I think he's what you call what he has done is he shared his emotions not only to the human beings, even for the animals, even for street dogs. And how many of you know the history of Ratan Tata, where the charity goes, the charity part is very high, where he could understand India's nature, and more than 50% of the profit used to go to charity. And that was the principle started from day one. Though he was a top performer, he never wanted to claim it. It's one of the best example, our Indian example. Then somebody's online, please mute. People with average IQs for outperform those with the highest IQ 70% of the time. Those with the what you call EQ outperformance IQ, that's also been proved. So the research already said that emotional intelligence is one of the important or crucial factor for what you call star performers. Then apart from their finance or other success, the idea is emotional intelligence plays a major role in the performance. So what's the idea? It's a key part of the whole person. So your expertise is referred as IQ, intelligence quotient, what you bring to work. Your personality is what kind of person you are working at. EQ, how you combine what you call most of both, whether it's IQ or personality, which what you call make the best use of it. How to make the most of both your expertise as well as your personality. That's why it's called as key part of the whole person. So IQ, EQ, and personality. So that's the idea. And what are the characteristics of these emotionally intelligent people? I think you may have all these. Knowing one's feelings. How many of us understand our own feelings first of all? So that's most important. Many times we don't understand our own feelings and we try to understand others' feelings without knowing our feelings. So a person with a high emotional intelligence knows his own feelings first. And the second part, the person tries to manage his own emotions or his or her emotions and feelings appropriately. Management of it is also important. Able to motivate self is the third factor. Self motivation. That's what we talked in the beginning. How Goldman this one gave the definition or components of emotional intelligence is a self motivation. That self motivation comes with the emotional intelligence part. Then whenever there are setbacks, whenever there are frustrations, the person is able to persist or resist so that he can bounce back or he can resilient. We call them as resilience nature, so that he will not be what you call frustrated in the beginning itself. He will try again and again. The next important part with the emotion intelligent people is ability to control impulses. You get angry, but try to control over it. That is more important. And delay gratification. Don't expect all the things to happen at one time. So let the things come one by one. Whereas this people with less emotional intelligence, they cannot control their impulses and they don't want to delay the gratification. Everything should come on the spot. The next part is ability to empathize with others. This is where we talked about understanding the other person. So how to understand the other person? Understanding the feeling of the other person. That's empathy. Feel the same as the other person. It's much more than sympathy or apathy. Apathy is no feelings at all. Sympathy is just feel for the person. Here in empathy, you exactly feel the pain or sensation of the person, of the other person who is having it. So you empathize. So emotional intelligent people will have this capacity to hope, more of optimism than pessimism. Yes, tomorrow will be good. That's more important. Social competencies is also one of the characteristics of emotional intelligent people, where social skills matter, social intelligence matters. Now, these things definitely put the person on high on emotional intelligence. And our emotions are influenced by kind of perceptions we do, how we look into things. Our emotion and our perception, it influences the biological process of the brain. Already we have seen few examples. Our emotions are influenced by kind of perceptions we do. where emotion, when it's mixed up with the perception, it influences the biological process. So that's why you have to be very careful. Now, why you get fear and anger? An important thing is fear and anger in us. Fear is okay, but anger is not good. Both are not good, especially in the workplace. Anger is definitely not good. Our anger might distort our perception. That is more important. When anger distorts the perception, everything looks different. So once everything looks different, we react differently. So that is why in the beginning only I said, don't claim anything in an urgency. That is more important. So when you are too happy or when you're too angry, don't claim anything. Don't talk anything unnecessary. We cannot control our emotions during anger, but that can lead to disaster. So that is why don't trust your gut until you have calmed down. Because what happens in a fear anger situation, we are bound to what you call attack, being violent. So that is why one has to be what you call very careful while executing his behavior, especially under angerful situation or under happy situation. I told you already. So these things should matter a lot. Now, how to increase your EQ is another interesting question which I used to get from others. So that's why I added slide now. How to increase our own what you call EQs. So simple thing. The first thing is conduct a person inventory. What you call a non-biased, what you call non-biased assessment of ourselves. What is that? What is good in us? What is bad in us? So once you start without any bias, what is good in us? What is bad in us? And try to increase the good and decrease the bad. That's the beginning of increasing of our EQ. That's the first level, conducting a personal inventory. Then analyze the setting and identify skills needed. You are a teacher, you are a professor, you are assistant professor or associate or a professor. Your setting is first is your classroom, then your what you call colleagues, then your home. So you analyze those settings and what are the things are needed in classroom. The skills are needed, teaching skills. In what you call with your colleagues, you require colleagues and family, you require interpersonal skills. Identify those skills and try to improve upon that. The next part is enlist, make a list of your trusted friends. We do have what you call many friends, but how many of you can really trust? A friend is a true friend when he is in need, even when you have done something wrong. Still, he supports and corrects you, then only he's a good friend. When you have got enough assets and all, there are too many friends. When you don't have anything, and if nobody is there, that means you don't have good friends. A good friend is there for good, bad, for any eventualities. The person will be with you. So enlist such good friends or trusted friends. Then you don't have to focus on all the competencies because we are in a teaching profession. So we have to highlight on what you call few of the competencies which really improve our personality. If you see the fifth one, practice, practice, practice. The more practice you have, the more efficiently you can manage the situation. For example, classroom. How you are going to manage? Some people just go and talk without any blocks. Now, how it happens? Just because of the practice. That's why those youngsters or they're just beginners in the audience. My sincere advice is practice at home, practice in front of the mirror teaching we say. You learn a lot. You see your own emotions in front of the mirror. Get others feedback. So the more you practice in your own competencies and proficiency, definitely you can increase your IQ. Be observant and reflective. This is the most important inside the class as well as outside the class. You cannot be just teaching for a crowd without observing and having a reflection. You have to watch each and every student, but don't target. Some teachers target the students. No, it should be general observation. The more you are observant, everybody is what you call serious about you. they will look into you. If you're not observant, they take the advantage of it. Then if you are really what you call want to increase your emotional quotient or emotional intelligence, don't expect immediate results. That means what? You require you need to require some kind of patience. So another added quality of emotional intelligence or EQ is patience. So because of the patience, so many things can be achieved than aggression or anger. So this is where what you call one has to what you call focus on and don't expect immediate results. Yes, you are going to get a result, but you don't have to hurry it up. Definitely you get a result. Just wait for it. Learn from your mistakes is another thing. But some people don't want to learn from their mistakes. They continue to do the same mistake. Again, I call them like they are not good in their emotional intelligence. A mistake is done. If you do if repeatedly, if you are doing the same mistake, then it calls for a major correction in you. Either there's something really seriously wrong in you. So a mistake is done, and next time you should not do that mistake. That's the what you call way to increase your EQ. Then acknowledge your success. Now, remember many times what happens? There are many people supporting in your what you call academic venture and all, and you reach a pinnacle or the topmost level, and you ignore others, then you're not a good emotional intelligence person. You have to acknowledge who are behind you, who have put you on this particular position in any success. There are people who will be behind you to what you call supported earlier. Don't ignore them. Usually it happens the moment we reach a what you call highest position, we try to ignore or intentionally ignore. Not a good idea, because that position is not always what you call permanent. It might change, and if you don't acknowledge, it might backlash on you. So acknowledge your success. Even what you call acknowledge even a small success. Even students are also responsible for your success. Your colleagues could be responsible for your success. Your authors could be responsible for your success. So acknowledge duly their efforts in bringing up your success. So these are the few points to increase your EQ. And how you develop EQ? What you call it is by 4 quadrants model. If you see the quadrant one, uh, you try to get your own emotional self-awareness. First question itself is like, who am I and what are my potential areas of development? Many times people find it difficult to answer this question. Who am I? I'm not asking a philosophical question. I'm not asking a theological question. I'm asking a practical question. Who am I? It's not my just name and professor. No, there is something more in me that I have to identify. And what are my potential areas of development? This is where I have to really look for. That is a self-awareness. And what is the self action I can take on that? That's called as emotional self control. How can I self regulate my emotions? Here, basically, anger. So can be right and effective. Many times, what happens? We are not able to regulate our emotions, especially in primary schools, high school. Nowadays, the parents are so what you call touchy about their words or their children. Even if a small verbal abuse, forget about physical abuse. Next day, they'll be complained to the what you call headmaster or the principal, and the teacher may be blamed or sometimes suspended. So you need to what you call regulate the emotions so that the right thing can happen and you can manage the things effectively. Now comes to the others angle, others awareness. Now that's called as social awareness. How can I transcend my perspective, what I know, my idea, so that I can understand value others? Because if other person wants to understand me, I need to understand him first, and then only I can transcend my ideas. No, sometimes we impose ideas. That is very much wrong. Whether the person is willing to be imposed, in that case, we are forcing. But happily willingness comes to transcending those perspectives. Yes, and valuing others. A person with high emotional intelligence, he value any small help rendered by other person. It could be a small help. It could be from your own peon. It could be from a clerk. Remember that. We say remember minute details of an individual. That is the thing about emotional intelligence. Remembering minute things, remembering the events which are happened 10 years back. That means you have good emotional intelligence. Then others actions with the quadrant 4, that's called as social skills. How can I build teams and create constructive work relationship? In classroom, how can you develop what you call a cohesive team so that all the students are in a single group, boys or girls or mixture, unisex or co-ed, doesn't matter. How you can what you call make them into a cohesive group and create constructive work relationship, student teacher relationship, student student relationship. Now, how you can what you call build upon that so that you will become a popular teacher. Now, this is where you can develop EQ, the 4 quadrants model, where you can really work upon that and really improve your what you call EQ part. So just what you call compare two groups of people with low EQ and high EQ. See the person with the low EQ. See, all the time he is not happy with his job. He thinks if he had a different job, then thinking of higher education, thinking of physical beauty rather than psychological beauty, because the person with the low EQ person should understand, will not understand that the physical beauty is not permanent. It might change or deteriorate over the time, physical beauty or physical handsomeness. But psychological handsomeness or psychological beautifulness will remain forever. Then person with the low EQ think like that, if only my spouse had stopped drinking, something very funny issue, then if only I had been born rich and famous, this most of the students think, looking at the other students, I should have been born to rich and famous. Not required. Then if I had good contacts,
DSCದು ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದನೇ ಕಳ್ಸಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ
then if only I had better friends,
ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಗೆ ಕಳ್ಸ್ಯಾರ.
and if I had married, those are married all the time.
ಶಶಿ ಮಂಜುಳಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅದೇನ್ ಕೇಳ.
Madam, please mute, somebody's online. So all these things, characteristics, if you have seen, all the time they think of negative issues. See of the person who is having high EQ. The high EQ person thinks a time to be aggressive and time to be passive, when to be aggressive and when to be not aggressive. He thinks about it. A time to wait and time to watch. Yes, that's not a delay gratification. A time to be together and a time to be alone. He knows when to be in the group and when to be alone. A time to fight and time to love. Intelligent teachers will do that. At home, a time to fight with the children, okay, and a time to love. Both are required. You cannot have one what you call all the time fighting or all the time loving. It could be pampering, because there's a lot of difference between loving and pampering. We should love our children but should not pamper our children. Pampering children leads to low EQ. Then a time to work and a time to play. Relaxation. All the time not working. You need to work, at the time you need relaxation also. A time to work and time to play. And he knows, the person with high EQ knows when and where. A time to cry and time to laugh. I'm very sure that some of you definitely cry listening to the old Hindi tunes or Kannada tunes. Isn't it? Maybe sitting alone. Isn't it? At least few of you listen to those sad songs and cry yourself, not in front of others, and get some kind of satisfaction. Audience, anybody there?
Yes, sir, you are right, sir.
Why you do that? You get lot of relaxation. After the few what you call drops, when it goes for this one, you feel little relaxed. and you enjoy that feeling, that sad feeling also you enjoy, and you feel one of it. At the same time, a time to laugh. Yes, you enjoy your time. A time to confront and time to withdraw. You know where to confront and where to withdraw. And emotional intelligent people are very good in where to speak and where to be time with and get into troubles. Sometimes we don't talk and get into unnecessary troubles. It has happened. So intelligent person, high EQ person will know when and where to speak, how to speak, and when to be silent. You cannot directly go to your higher authorities like principal or above, directly go and shout. You know what are the effects. Who is right, who is wrong is secondary thing. But the momentary part, a time to be patient and time to decide. All these things will highlight the characteristics of a high EQ person. So now introspect yourself, how much you are on the left side of the characteristics and how much you have got characteristics higher on the right side. And if right side weighs more than the left side, then definitely you have got high IQ. If left side weighs more than the right side, then I think you need to change. You need to change your way of thinking. You need to change your mindset, because being a teacher, you should have high EQ. Slowly come to anger and anger management. So anybody is not angry in their lifetime? Anybody is like all the time happy? From the audience, I think more than 40 people are there. Is any person can claim I was never angry in my lifetime?
No, sir.
It's not
No.
possible, sir.
No way. If not anger on you, must have felt anger on yourself. So that is what you call self-aggression, not aggression towards others, self-aggression. But remember, anger is humanity's most basic emotions. Even animals do get angry. Forget about humans, even animals. So, but the idea here is here how you feel a situation and how you act. Some people are very cool, even in any situation. They know what to do, when to do, how to do. Some people act spur on the moment and they get into problems. So this is where how you act is up to you. That's where emotional intelligence matters. Now, as we already discussed, it's a basic human emotion response. Anyone, there's nothing like no person without anger. It's a basic human emotion response. And when you get angry, you're triggered by a threat. There is a danger ahead or perceived threat. The danger may not be seen, it could be real or imaginary. When some injustice happens, your friend gets promotion with the same what you call qualification, you don't get promotion, you think it's an injustice. When you feel hurt, when you're unnecessarily scolded by your principal for no reason, you get angry. How you express is left to you. Or frustration when faced an obstacle. You want to go to what you call your friend's daughter's marriage or son's marriage. Suddenly, somebody falls sick at home. You get angry over yourself. Why should I face this? Now, anger is highly subjective in nature. It varies from person to person, individual to individual. And how you react to the situation also matters. If the situation is under our control, we feel more angry. If situation is under somebody else's control, we will not be angry, or we are not bound to show our anger. I think you have experienced that already. Whenever you are dominant, you can express your anger easily. When you are subordinate, when you are not dominant, your anger style will be very different. So it varies from situation to situation. So it's a normal feeling, and all of us experience. Some people might be experiencing our anger. Why online classes on a smaller level? Why we should listen? It is a small amount of anger. So it's a displeasure with someone or something, combined the urge for fight back. It could be with your spouse, husband or wife. It could be with your colleague. It could be with your what do you call siblings, brother or sister. It could be with your own children. We get displeasure when our what do you call when the job is not done, when they don't listen to us. Definitely we get angry or some situation, and you want to fight back. That itself is anger. So be careful about that. So level of anger escalation. We talk about 4 levels: healthy, mild, serious, and extreme. So healthy level of anger. You are calm and happy most of the time. That's more important. You get frustrated, but it doesn't last. It's for a momentary and it goes. Few people get angry very rarely, but it doesn't mean that you don't take action, but definitely you take action with happily. You express all of your emotions in an open, healthy manner. That's a healthy level of expression of your anger. Then slowly switch out to the next level, the mild level of anger, escalation. You are not happy as you want to be. I want to happy, but people are not allowing me. That's exactly, you feel irritated and frustrated often. Now I don't want to what you call tell others. I keep my feelings with myself. Now even if you keep your feelings yourself, you don't disclose with others. Think that it's a mild level of anger escalation. Then you avoid conflict and have issues with anxiety and or depression. Now slowly what happens because of the anger? Now you try to block something. We do that at home and all. Husband might stop talking for what you call wife, or wife might stop talking, and it's all what you call for a few days. Because if it continues, it might end up in anxiety or depression. Now slowly move on to the third level of anger escalation, that is seriousness. All the time or most of the time, you are irritated. Small things will irritate you. And even while giving a lecture, something is going in your mind about the issues which has happened or about the person. So you have lot of battles or lot of thinking, negative thinking going in your mind. And the idea is you feel like people are using you. You are a victim. Because of somebody's action or somebody's work, you are becoming victim. Now it leads to lashing out at others. You start just bumping on them, just what you call, you are not able to tolerate. And you can't enjoy even the good moments, so-called lighter moments, because your anger is stealing your joy. That is at the serious level. There's a final level, we call it as extreme level. So in extreme level, what exactly happens is, here the person is always angry about something. Small things will irritate. And all the time the person thinks negative about other people and other events. Even if some people talk good, the person thinks there is some what you call negative issue with the person. Your anger escalates out of control. You might attack others. That's another thing. Out of control. You hurt the ones you love. Now nobody, whether it's a spouse or children, you might hurt them. Or extreme level, it could be self-harm or harm to others. So these are the 4 levels of anger escalation. I would prefer or I would request you to be at least on the first 2 levels. Best is the first level. That is a healthy way of managing the anger escalation. Somewhat we get into the mild part, but I would request or I would tell you to, okay, never get into serious or extreme level of anger escalation. Neither you are not happy and others are happy. And by getting into second or third level, the person might end up in psychosomatic disorders because all the time irritated and all. So once the person is under what you call affected by psychosomatic disorder, nowadays we see a lot of diseases. Hypertension is one part, so-called blood pressure. Diabetes mellitus is another thing, sugar. Cardiac arrest, even at the very young age, 30 years. Recently in Bangalore, 2 days back, you must have seen. A bus conductor, while driving the bus only, he collapses. Stress, and I think he must have had a serious or extreme level of anger escalation. Now, all that psychosomatic disorders might affect cardiac issues, peptic ulcers, n number of psychosomatic disorders. So better we try to control our anger, get back to our healthy levels of anger escalation. Anger is required, but it should not affect either you or others. The moment it starts more affecting others and you, it indirectly shows that the pathology would be there. So assess your own levels of anger escalation, how you are managing. Now, these are the few things what you call I want to discuss with you. Anger versus aggression. Well, it looks almost same. Anger versus aggression. Okay, but remember, anger is basically what we feel. Aggression is what we do act. So aggression is one negative way in which individual express anger. It could be in any way. It could be threatening, verbally threatening, or injuring the other person, or even by verbal abuse, reducing the self-esteem of a person. But remember, what happens with anger, aggression? Though anger is a feeling, by our act, by verbal abuse, we can damage the personality of the other person. We may what you call hit the person by hand or fist or by weapons. But whatever this one, aggression through anger is meant for punishment. How far you are right at that time you forget. That's the most sad part of it. Because during anger, our what you call so-called rational thinking would decrease. We are just into action. And sometimes there is a silent anger. I don't know how many of you know about this. Anybody know that silent anger? People don't show anger openly. They suffer anger inside themselves. That's called a silent anger. So they don't show anything verbally or physically abuse you, and they express inside themselves. And sometimes you must have seen when the person is angry, they run kilometers. They hit those what you call boxers pouch or big bags. You must have seen at least in movies. That is the safe discharge of your anger rather than hitting someone. Sometimes just people run. At least in movies you must have seen. We'll continue. And what are the anger producing situations? If you start analyzing, you may be angry with a specific person or event. Definitely. Otherwise, why should get angry? Anger should be aimed at a specific person or an event. Or somebody insults you, it increases your anger. Stress and worries. Yes, stress is an adjustive demand which puts a pressure on your body. It starts affecting physically first, then there could be a psychological aspect, and there could be a mixture of both. Sometimes it might start with psychological and can affect body. So body mind relationship will be now what you call imbalanced. There could be worries about the future. There could be worries about the upcoming events. This brings anger. Disappointment and annoyance is another source of what you call anger producing situation. You are highly disappointed. You work so much, but you don't get enough credits for that. This might end up in annoyance. You feel like just hitting out. Your own fears, resentment, and frustration might lead to anger producing situations. When you're rejected, when you're hurt, when you're embarrassed by others in public, in privacy, yes, no, but rejected, hurt, and embarrassed, definitely you get angry. You will have a negative thinking. I should do something. Having possessions taken or broken, when somebody takes away your what you call things without your knowledge, it can happen at your home. When your expensive mobile is broken, definitely get anger. When your expensive stuff is broken, jealousy can bring lot of anger because somebody's growth when you don't tolerate psychologically, that brings a negative feeling called as jealous, because when we start comparing with the other person and I feel inferior, automatically jealousy starts. Now the no what you call rational thinking works, only the negative thinking works. Being teased or talked about, anyone will get what you call anger on this part when they get teased by others, or When people talk about you in your absence, definitely you get angry. When you feel yourself low self-esteem, that also could be there. Grief. Sir, somebody is online, please mute. And grief, some loss of what you call individuals or some loss of this one person might end up with the grief, and this grief could lead to anger. Home life, some people, home life itself, irritating children or irritating spouse. For some people, thinking of going home itself might bring anger. I hope nobody has that in the group. So for some people, home life could be what you call anger producing situations, because our children won't listen to parents' words, and they are into their own world. A spouse doesn't listen to the other spouse, then the person thinks that going home is not a good choice. He might switch over being angry to the club or other things. So now what happens? There's a big breakdown. So all these are what you call anger producing situations. So now how to deal with the anger? So first thing is, you usually get a signal that you are what you call you are getting angry. Anger will not just be in front of you. When anger triggers, you get slowly some signals you get. So what you can do is try to avoid. We do that. Try to avoid the situation where you can get angry in front of a person or the event. That's why some people don't go to an event, because they know if they go to that event, they get angry. Or if they meet this person, they'll definitely get angry. So try to avoid. If not possible avoiding them, the next level is how to deal with them. Now, this is where you have to think a lot, thinking upon the other person's personality. So when you think of other person's personality, now it's easier to understand how to deal with them. Then you should know how to put your feelings into words. Explore and name of emotions. This will give you a lot of ideas what condition you are. Are you hurt? Are you confused? Are you under shameful conditions? Etc. Now, this will give a lot of openings for you to think whether I am hurt, whether I am confused, or whether I'm under shame. Now, this will give a lot of ideas to manage them. So that's why you start dealing with the anger. And usually what we do when you're anger, the way we react is called as anger style. How is our anger style? At least three ways. One is dumping, and one is acting out, and one is burying. So dumping is simply you project your anger on the less dangerous situation. Usually we say, again, nothing to be taken personal. If you go to the class and you start scolding the students continuously, first hour itself, student might tell, a teacher must have scolded by his spouse. And you cannot show against that anger back to the spouse. You dump the anger on the students. Or student might talk, or teacher must have scolded by principal, and that anger must be now dumped on us. Sometimes acting out. So this I see mostly in military and other jobs where the employees are working for a longer duration in a tough terrain, and when something back home happens, something negative happens like ill health of aged mother or some property loss, and when they ask for a leave, when the higher authority doesn't permit the person to leave back upon several requests, and when the frustration goes very high, there are enough instances where the junior officers shot their higher officers because they couldn't resist the anger, because something happening at back home, and when the emotions are overwhelmingly more on the person, and person is not able to get a leave for a few days to go to his native place, see the things, could be ill health of aged one or some loss. Now the person will act out, directly shooting out the higher officer. then surrendering. Enough anecdotes are there, enough examples are there from military and BSF and even some of the officers. So this is what you call anger style. And sometimes they simply bury the anger. It's a self anger. They don't show any anger. They just control their this one and they don't show. So either way, the anger style can be there. So what happens if the person is under out of control anger? See the consequences. Can trigger a large number of antisocial behaviors. I don't need to explain much, you know. Can trigger negative consequences. Yeah, under what do you call, under anger, you have uttered something, you have hit someone, there is a lot of violence happened. Now it has got a lot of consequences. You may be suspended, you may have problems with others, you may be given warnings, you may be cut your what you call increments. Anything can happen. It can hurt your physical health. As I said, more anger can lead to more psychosomatic disorders. So there is a punchline statement. You can't always control the situation you are in or how it makes you feel. Situation you cannot control, but you can control how you express your anger. And how many are making this one understanding this? Where you are what you call feeling anger in a situation, that situation you cannot control, but you can control how you express your anger because that is within you. One is the subjective part, which is controlling anger from your side, or the situation which is happening is not under your control, so you are out of it. You cannot think of what you call changing the situation. So better, rather than controlling the situation, you control how to express your anger, then the things will be much easier. So that's the idea. So you know, anger is a problem. It has led to several things. Even the wars, it must have what you call led to wars. And when it's a problem, when it harms you, anger really harms psychological or physically. When it leads to aggression, yes. When it harms people around you, even your what you call children are harmed by others, yes, you are get angry. When it disrupts your college and relationships, you want to go to what you call college early, but something disrupts, yes, you get angry. When something is disturbed by your somebody disturbs your relationship, you get angry. And the condition when it's too frequent, intense and last long, that time also you get angry. Then when our quality of life, when how do we live, when that is also affected, definitely anger is a problem. And anger is a problem when chronic explosive anger spirals out of control, where now you are outwardly expressing the anger and a lot of negative things can happen, then anger is going to be a big problem. So it is said consequences. You must have seen for a small things people are killed. For 5 rupees, 10 rupees issue, it led to antisocial behavior and death or murder of a person, led to negative and later arrest. I don't give many examples. Examples are there right in front of you. You can see every day on the what you call TV and all how anger can trigger antisocial behaviors. So it's better to control our anger. So what happens? What you call the moment you start acting out. You know, acting out is you fully express the anger in a negative way. Can lead to legal troubles. Yes. Now you may be dragged into court or you may be arrested. Can lead to problems any place, your college, home, or community. And anger definitely causes relationship problems with your family, with your spouse, with your children, with your students, with your colleagues. There could be relationship problems. Because of this, person might end up in substance abuse, like alcohol or any other things which the person tries to forget. Physical problems, already I said, physical and emotional problems where it affects body and mind, leading to psychosomatic issues and brings down our self-esteem. What I know about me will now lowered. Low self-esteem leads to more of loneliness because the moment I estimate low about me, I want to be what you call segregated from others, and this can lead to what you call loneliness, and more loneliness can lead to depression. And there are many others are there. there are consequences. So how you get to know that you have anger with you? The body starts sending signals. Your body gives some kind of idea. What is that? See the first one, clenched fist. Your fist will be clenched, and over the phone you start talking loud. Everybody starts looking at you. What is wrong with you? So in anger, our voice will be loud. That is the signal, our cues. And racing and pounding heartbeat. Now, because of the anger, physiological changes would start. The heartbeat increases, and you start sweat a lot. And as usually, you know, the red face, because of all the, because while talking and all, the blood rushes to the face because of the adrenaline and stress hormone, which sends more blood to the face. So the face becomes red, and upset stomach. Now you have a problem with the digestive problem. Now, if it is too much, as I said, it can end up with the physical issues, upset stomach, and after some age, it might end up with the condition called as gastritis, because you are not able to digest what you have eaten, and there could be delayed digestion or no digestion, lead to upset stomachs. Can all happen. So, other signs, warning signs, as teachers, what are the signs applied to us? First thing is we are not able to focus. That's an important thing, because we are supposed to teach our to students and this one. You are not able to get the grip over teaching. That means our focus is out of it. Start insulting people, because small things we start insulting. Breathing I already said. For small issues we start argumentative. We start staring, and sometimes silent anger. Go quiet and shut down. Your child must have done. When you shouted at the child must have silently gone, and the door must have closed. Throw things is a very common thing. In anger, a few people have even what you call broken their mobiles and expensive things. Angry faces, as you know, become aggressive. Also know. Crying is as another form. Profanity is another one. Then the moment what they do, they find it difficult to what you call stop thinking, because all the time the negative thinking will come. Then all these things lead to what you call psychological effect. Now this will have a problem with the day-to-day living. Now all these things will have problems, leads to negative impact rather than positive impact. So how to deal with anger? Because before you ask question, I would like to talk about that. Dealing with the anger, the first thing is never get upset with the words or actions. That's why we say cool off, stay calm. But what we do when somebody shouts, we also shout back. Then the shoutings will increase from both the sides. Might end up in verbal abuse, might end up in physical abuse, and in extreme cases could be injury or death. It has happened just because of anger. Issue could be very small, but anger is big, no? So cooling off and stay calm. Or another thing, many people do that the moment feel that they're getting angry, they just leave the place. That's the very safest way to what you call, other person may be ridiculing you, embarrassing you, but just leave the place. That's very good, so that you can temporarily avoiding that. By temporarily avoiding things, you can avoid big threats or big dangers. This is a old saying, count to 10. I don't say count to 10, count to 50 or 100. Because count 10 is not enough nowadays. So you may have to count for 100 or something like that. By the time you finish counting, your anger must have reduced. Take a deep breath. You say, whenever you take a deep breath, more oxygen gets into your bronchi and you get a lot of relaxation. So deep breathing is meant for that. That's why in yoga and meditation, these things are, deep breathing exercises are given. Why? Because it brings more relaxation. When it brings more relaxation, you feel what you call little cool. Then there should be a self-talk, because positive self-talk rather than a negative self-talk. What is that positive self-talk? I can handle this. You're telling yourself, it is not as bad as I thought. Okay, I can still manage this. And imagine you are in a peaceful place. The moment you think that you are in an irritated place, I think you are out of it. Now again anger comes back. So practice few of the simple things, definitely you can manage. Then whenever some anger situation comes, give yourself some time to sort things out. Don't just immediately act spur of the moment. Wait. Think why it's happening to you, and why the other person is shouting at you, or why the other person is having negative towards you, either in a professional level or at the personal level. Why the person is not liking you. This calls for an introspection. Start scribbling what is happening, what is really happened. Either I am responsible, or the other person responsible, or the third person is responsible. Because sometimes for your anger, direct parties are not involved. There are third parties are involved. That is very important to analyze. What were my cues? How did I get this to know? This is where you're trying to scratch. In this condition, can you talk to your one of the trusted friend? That is more important, where they can give a good suggestion. No good, a good friend will not say that go and attack or go and solve it. No, a good friend will always try to compromise, or they say make you better, feel you better, and don't think from point of yours. This is where many of us are totally, literally failed. What happens is, being in an anger situation, we look to that situation from the anger only. Look from the third point of view. Come out of that situation and see if other persons are in that situation, how they would have managed. I think by then you have got a big answer. When you see the situation from the third angle, now why this is happening? But we don't want to do that. We just want to pounce on that. So this is where, okay, you have to look at the situation from a different viewpoint. Now, what to do even when, okay, try to control anger, still you are not able to manage your anger. Okay, you try, you divert your anger into a better world. So as I said, channel your energy into physical activity. That's why I've shown that basketball pouch there, how people go and hit it, that all anger, or sometimes they go and kick the football or something like that. So it's a safe way of what you call discharging, or reducing your energy, what you call anger part, and try to solve the problem in a realistic way, not in a negative way or in a this one bad way. People solve the problem, but not in a realistic way. Try to solve the problem in a realistic way, and accept the situations which you cannot change. Sometimes you cannot change. That's what, situations you cannot change. So you have to change. If your what you call authorities all the time is what you call angry, you cannot change his condition. Better you change. We do that. So how we react is more important than the condition is. So what usually we say is, don't let anger control you. The moment the anger controls you, you are gone. Better you can take the control. You control the anger. The more you control the anger, I think you are more what you call, you can better manage the situation. But if anger controls you, then situation takes the control. So that's the idea, where you are trying to change the anger into others. So while doing that, you have to do self-control. Now, what is this self-control? We say it's ability to resist inappropriate behavior. You know that something happening, you try to resist it. Dealing effectively with emotions. The emotions are basically negative. One is anger. And develop patience, which already what you call the idea. So maintaining self-control is the key to managing anger. How many of you know about this? The more you control yourself, you can manage the anger. The more you are controlled by others, then you cannot manage your anger. So better we control our self. whatever the emotions, then we can manage our anger more efficiently. There is a saying, there's nothing like only few people get angry. Everybody gets angry. That is just how it is. But how we react to it, how we manage it is the question. It's not that nobody gets angry. Everybody gets angry. But how do we look at the anger situation or anger producing event? So we should try to get a grip over the anger or the situation. Then we can manage the anger easily. The moment we leave the situation to take the control, then we may be victims later. Where we are going to talk about self-awareness also. That's another part we'll try to discuss fast. So self-awareness is knowing ourselves. It is not that self-awareness, if you are all the time good, not doing mistakes, it's not self-awareness. It is when you do a mistake, you try to learn and correct them. That is self-awareness. Now, how we understand ourselves is by introspecting ourselves. Because the more we know ourselves, it gives a power, like how much we are really into the ourselves, and it gets a control over us. Then it can be limitation because I cannot do it because I know it, but I can do it, then it's a facilitator. So either it can be limitation or it can be a facilitator of personal learning and growth. So there is what you call iceberg, how much we know. So we can divide into two sections, observable and unobservable. Unfortunately, the observable is only around 10% and unobservable self is 90%. So what we see is appearance, language, habits, customs, behavior, skills, and talents. What we don't see is beliefs, values, attitudes, self-image, personality styles, assumptions, and learning styles. So a big dearth of thing is shaded area. We call it gray area, which are hidden or which are not seen. So the moment more we bring the unobservable into the observable part, I think our self-awareness will be high. So it is exactly like this. Self-awareness, knowing one's own. What matters most is how we see ourselves. You see the picture. Actually, it's a cat, but thinking as a lion. That is our attitude and feelings, motives and desires. Now, the strengths and weakness also we have to speak. So once you have got accurate self-assessment, that leads to better self-awareness. Moving further, a small question before we wind up our talk. What do you see here? Anybody? Quick response? Is it
Horse.
huh?
Horse face, sir.
Horse face, okay. Anybody else? I think I got one answer
frog,
called as
frog.
Okay, the second answer is frog, okay.
Frog,
Somebody
frog, sir.
Frog, okay.
Sir, frog, sir.
Frog, okay. Any more answers? Huh? Okay, the most common answers which I am getting from the audience is either it's a frog or a horse face, right? Let us see what exactly it is. If you have seen a frog, understand that your personality is undergoing a period of change or transition. Your personality is undergoing a period of change or transition, but it reveals your openness to adaptation. You are ready to change and you're easy in navigating unfamiliar situations. You want to try to explore things. You want to do things. But if you have seen a horse, now the idea is slightly different. You possess a strong sense of determination. You want to do something in the future. And you want to overcome any obstacles which you are facing. That's a determination you have. You want to have challenge. You have what you call ability to observe even the minutest details, because a horse, Usually, if I go back to the picture, the first thing most of the people see is a frog. But if you are seen bit by bit, minute by minute, slowly horse eye and horse, what you call mouth and all, again, and half what you call filled. Now that's called as minute details. So that is called for determination, freedom, and endurance. So you can see either frog or even horse, or some people can see both. But this shows like how much self-aware of yourself. So that's the idea. What are the key areas of self-awareness if you are looking for? Our personality traits like introvert, extrovert, or whatever it may be. There are several personality traits we have. Our personal values, because personal values keep varying from individual to individual. Our habits determine our self-awareness. Our emotions and psychological needs do influence our self-awareness. So these are the key areas. And you can do this. I think most of you know about Johari window. You can open in net also. See the idea. How it what you call works out in Johari window. See the green area, known to me and known to others. What you call that is self and others. Then that's called as open area. Then there is known to self, not known to self, but known to others. I don't know about others, but people know about what you call that's a blind. Known to others, but not known to me. That's a blind area. Then comes what you call hidden. Known to self, but I know more, but others don't know. Known to me, but not known to others. That's called as hidden area. The last one is neither I know, not others know. So the fourth quadrant. So through Johari window, you can always experiment how much you know yourself, how much you know others, how others know about you. And if you all that you can make, and how we can improve upon that. In the next slide, I'll show you. The minimum openness, which is the first slide, if you see here, first picture, it's a minimum openness where ineffective personality we say. Now you say more openness, effective personality when it's open. That means known to me, known to others more compared to all other quadrants. Then how you improve that? The open corner or open box by seeking feedback, how to improve. By self-disclosure, what I know and others also know, and practice new behaviors where others also getting to know about that. So automatically the green area would increase. So this will increase what you call increase yourself, and your personality will be more effective. So that's the idea. As I said, okay, how do you seek feedback from others? Reflecting on one's own feelings, and how many of you take self-score tests? Taking tests yourself on your own things, then assess yourself. Strengths, weaknesses, areas to be improved. If you know about that, definitely you can create more self-awareness about you. Then self-analysis is another thing. Okay, where you are going to talk about. Many of we have gotten the confusion. Do we like where we are and what we become? Sometimes some teachers say, no, we didn't like this. Then the analysis will be negative. If you think that the life would have been different, wish that my life should have been different, that means your self-analysis goes a different way. Can my relationship improve? Again, it's a question. Am I producing the results that my students and my administration wants? That's called goes for self-analysis. And if there are what you call all the answers are yes, I think that is better. So think of a moment and identify in which of the areas you excelled, where you have gone better, which of the areas you face difficulties. People you like and people you don't like, events you like and events you don't like, things you like and things you don't like. Analyze them, identify. People or events bring you happiness or sadness, make a list of them, then you get very clear clarity on yourself. Then how much you are open with others, because sometimes we are highly what you call seclusive and we are secretive. Not a good nature. The nature and extent openness you have with others also matters in self-analysis. The next part is self-esteem. Okay, where how much I what you call gauge myself, how much I more than knowing how much I value myself. It's a subjective appraisal. The more self-esteem, the better ones. So these are the things where Our attitudes are based on our attitudes, our values, jobs, achievements, how others are seeing me as I think, my purpose, my place in the world, my potential for success, strengths and weaknesses, social status does matter, ability to stand on my own feet, all is what you call influence my self-esteem. Again, high and low self-esteem, we already discussed feeling of worth and feeling of helplessness, happy and unhappy. Then motivated, lack of motivation, confident and courageous, but depressed here, courageous here, fear there. What you call, the more you are going high self-esteem, it leads to high motivation, drive to excel to something. Where there's a low self-esteem, it leads to meaninglessness in life. So it should not happen. So again, steps I've already this one, identify yourself, appreciate yourself, assess your self-worth, not in terms of assets, your own self. Self-respect is equally important like giving respect. Take care of yourself called as self-care is also important. Self-acceptance, accept as what you are. Because if you're not going to accept by yourself, how others are going to accept you? Then self-belief, determination in yourself also matters. So another thing is confidence. Initially, it starts with, if you see the ladder, it starts with I won't do it. But if you've got high self-esteem and if you think positively, then it leads to I can't do it. Then the next level you think I want to do it. Furthermore, you think how do I do it? How do means strategies will emerge. I'll try to do it. Okay, once the idea came, I try to do it. Then next you think I can do it. Once you say I can do it or feel, then another feeling comes, I will do it. And once you've done it, yes, you do it. This is how the self-esteem ladder goes. You can practice this, definitely it can happen. So Bandura is one of the person what you call talked about self-efficacy, all related to self issues. Okay. Belief in one's own ability for accomplishment, how much effective I am. It's a can-do attitude. So there are a lot of theories are there. Anyway, this PPT will be shared. You can read more about that. There's assessment also. During free time, you can do your assessment. I have given the questionnaire as well as what you call answers and how much your self-efficacy is, whether you got a low, moderate or high. It's from a standard journal. You can do it. And already we have discussed about what you call the difference between high and low self-efficacy people, how they are. You can just what you call, they are very simple one. How people manage, and people who are successful have got high self-efficacy, all that characters should appear. People are low self-efficacy, you can find that as a teacher also should be active, courageous, competent. One should have high self-esteem and optimistic. There should be high social integration, high motivation. Longer persistence of a goals also matters, and higher goals and great results. Whereas see all the opposite on the lower self-efficacy. Being a teacher, try to get on to the high self-efficacy part. That's where I end my talk. Next few minutes already our time is up. But if there are any doubts, feel free to ask. Next few minutes we'll spare on few of the questions. Now the session is open for any clarifications. Any doubts or queries?